I'd like to call this council and committee meeting to order. Before we proceed, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Adirondack, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people. We are the beneficiaries of ancient agreements, such as the dish with one spoon between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, who agreed to share the abundance of the land through peace, friendship, and mutual respect. The two-row wampum, by which the Haudenosaunee welcomed the settlers and agreed to share the land in mutual respect, and the Treaty of Niagara, considered a fundamental document by First Nations in all future relations and treaties with the British. We recognize that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the land in cooperation and collaboration with the Indigenous peoples, not only for one generation, but for all generations to come. We understand that we have an obligation to learn the lessons of our history, educate ourselves about the experiences of the Indigenous people, and seek opportunities to heal the wounds that will result in reconciliation with our Indigenous sisters and brothers. Many First Nations, Métis, and Innu people live and work in Fort Erie. We stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We have the good fortune to live in a land of such abundance, diversity, and beauty. Let us be vigilant in protecting Turtle Island. Madam Clerk, the roll call, please.
Your Worship, all members of council are present.
Okay, so we have an addendum this evening. It's the addition of presentation to two Greater Fort Erie Secondary School students for their recent awards in the Skills Ontario and Canadian national competitions. We also have an additional report, CAO 10-2026, which is with respect to the application to the Development Charge Reduction Program recently announced by the federal and provincial governments. Got a few announcements this evening. The first has to do with the fact that June the 21st is the 30th anniversary of National Indigenous Peoples Day. That takes place on the summer solstice, which is the day where we have the greatest amount of daylight in this part of the world. The summer solstice holds deep spiritual and cultural significance for many Indigenous peoples. It's a time of renewal, connection, and celebration. And the first National Indigenous Peoples Day was declared in 1996. At the time it was called the National Aboriginal Day. That was changed in 2017, and it now is National Indigenous Peoples Day. So hope everyone will recognize the significance of that day and the contributions of Indigenous peoples to our communities over the centuries. Second announcement has to do with two awards that were received by cadets this weekend, members of the Royal Canadian Air Cadets 337 Allen Trope Squadron, which is the oldest cadet corps in Fort Erie and the one that has the greatest history and connection to the military. There were two awards received. One was by Warrant Officer First Class Caleb Brown, who received the Brigadier General Bob Robert Shield as the top air cadet in Ontario. My understanding is that there have only been 3 of those awards to cadets in Niagara since 2004. 2 of them have been given to cadets of the Allen Trope Squadron. The other award was received by Warrant Officer Second Class Tanner Robertson, who received the Sir Douglas Bader Battle of Britain Award as the top warrant officer in the Niagara region. And we have a replica of the Battle of Britain sword hanging in the atrium in the town hall here. So congratulations to each of them. Hard work. Unfortunately, each of them is graduating out of the Cadet Corps, but watching the review the other day, it's pretty clear that they do an excellent job and that those individuals, along with the other 2 who are graduating, will be replaced by very efficient junior officers. I also wanted to mention that the town of Fort Erie received recognition from the BGC, formerly the Boys and Girls Club of Niagara, for contributions that we have made to their operation. Everyone knows, I hope, that they manage and operate the E.J. Freeland Community Center here in Fort Erie, and we're looking forward to them expanding their hours of operation and providing more programs coming forward in the future. And I want to thank the CAO, who has spent a lot of time Oh, yes, you keep wandering there, Mr. CAO. Spent a lot of time working on that, and congratulations as well. I know you're a big part of the reason we received that award. I wanted to mention a couple of things. The first has to do with respect to the Point Dubanow Lighthouse tours. Those tours have proceeded every summer for the last number of years. This year there have been some safety concerns identified with respect to the facility, particularly the inside of the lighthouse. So instead of the trolley tours, this year the tours will be confined to walk-in, self-guided tours. People can walk out if they pre-register with the Point Dubanow Association, and the information on that is located on our website. You can go to the Point Dubanow Lighthouse portion of the website, Town of Fort Erie, and it will give you information as to how you can register, what the days are that it's available, and you will be allowed to walk out. It's about a 1.5 kilometer walk, and you can tour around the outside of the building, but until we are able to address the interior health and safety concerns, the public won't be allowed into the interior. Other thing that I wanted to mention was the closure of the Stevensville branch of the Meridian Credit Union. And following the last council meeting, when the issue was raised by Councillor Noyes, I did have an opportunity to speak to Chief Operating Officer of the organization. I can't say that the conversation resulted in anything that was satisfactory to me, or I'm sure the residents of Councillor Noyes' ward, the Stevensville area. And it occurs to me that this is now the third financial institution that has closed an operation in Fort Erie. CIBC closed its branch in Ridgeway a couple of years ago. Bank of Montreal recently closed its only branch in Fort Erie last year, or earlier this year, and now we've got Meridian Credit Union. They've indicated that they're committed to remaining in Fort Erie. They have their main branch here in the plaza on Garrison Road, the Sobeys Plaza. But it seems to me that this is happening across Canada. It's happening to many, many smaller communities and rural communities, and I'm contemplating what might be done in terms of this council perhaps passing a resolution requesting the federal government to take some steps to encourage banks and other financial institutions, credit unions, to perhaps develop some partnerships where they can retain services in the smaller communities. I have to do a little bit more research on that, but I wanted to mention it because Councillor Noyes, you had raised it. I know that there's a petition that's being signed by residents. I signed one when I was in Stevensville on Saturday at the Stevensville Spring Festival. And, it's pretty aggravating. Part of the problem, though, is that during the pandemic, everyone was compelled to use digital means in order to accomplish a variety of things, including banking. Many young people are more comfortable doing things digitally. People my age, we like the personal contact. We like to be able to speak to people and interact with individuals. I believe that will change as time goes on, but right now it's a reality, and these institutions are motivated primarily by profit. One would think that customer service might play a role there, but in any event. So I just wanted to make a few comments on that. I know that the Fort Erie Observer is going to be covering this. They'll have a story, and I know that they asked Councillor Noyes as well to make a comment. Then that gets me to the final announcements, and these are some presentations that we're going to make, and Councillor Lewis, maybe you could help me with this. So we have two high school students who have participated in the advanced skills competition at the provincial level, and one of them also competed at the national level. And I see the parents smiling, and I see the students smiling. So the first recipient that I'm going to refer to is Jocelyn Burns, and this competition that she and Gabrielle Cudmore participated in at the provincial level took place on May the 4th to 6th at the Toronto Congress Centre. It brought together the secondary and post-secondary students from across Ontario in skilled trades and technology contests. And GFest competed in 4 categories. They were fortunate to have winners in 2 of the competitions at the provincial level. Jocelyn Burns competed in the hairstyling competition and was successful in earning a bronze medal. So congratulations. We're going to give you a certificate shortly. So you know what, we're going to do that right now because then we'll give a little bit of information about Gabrielle Cudmore. So Councillor Flagg, Lewis. I asked Councillor Lewis, didn't I? Yeah. Come, Councillor Lewis. I should have mentioned that Jocelyn is going to be going to Niagara College next year, and I'm sure she's very excited, and it's nice to have family here. There's nothing better if you're a parent than having a successful child, so congratulations. It's always a team effort, and you're to be commended for having such a successful child. It looks like you may have other children. Yeah, okay. So your sister just set the bar a little higher for you. Okay, the other recipient who participated in the provincial competition is Gabrielle Cudmore, and her parents are here as well. And she participated in the baking competition. She baked Welsh cakes while walking the judges through the baking process and some Welsh heritage behind the whole process. Gabrielle won gold at the provincial levels, which qualified her then to compete in the Canada competition. And in that competition, there were more than 500 students competing in 40 skills categories. And in Gabrielle's own competition, there were 11 others competing for the prize. They were from different provinces and territories. And so after 3 years of competition preparation and a lot of hard work and never giving up, I'm pleased to say that Gabrielle won the gold medal at the national competition. And among all the other things, she credits her parents for supporting her and also her teacher, Ashwin Kevani, who is here this evening. And I see that he's brought along the principal, who also wants to share in the spotlight for something that's truly impressive. When you think about it, this is a community in a smaller community at the bottom of the Niagara Peninsula, and we have a national champion here in Fort Erie. And so I'm going to so Councillor Lewis, I'm going to come down again. We can only get the right certificate now because we gave the other one away.
It's Welsh cakes. I better get that.
Councillor Lewis wants to order some Welsh cakes. So this has been quite an exciting month because, as I mentioned, we also had some other youth who received some awards through their cadet endeavors. You folks are free to leave if you wish. We have a whole bunch of other business. I'm sure you're not interested. You'd rather go and get your hair done and eat some Welsh cakes. But congratulations to all of you. Okay, so that takes us to declarations of pecuniary interest. Are there any? There being none, there are no notices of upcoming public meetings. There are no public meetings this evening. We have one item on the consent agenda. Can I have a mover for report FES 020-2026? That is Councillor Dubanow. It's the diesel exhaust extraction unit station 2 single sourcing. Any questions or comments? Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. I noticed in the report that we would be looking at the likelihood of installing these at other stations. I'm just wondering if there's a time frame and whether the staff have looked at opportunities of cost savings if we were to do that quicker than not.
CAO.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Flagg. So there was some urgency in moving forward with this particular installation, but I think for moving forward, we would be looking to go out to tender for additional sites where it may be required. I don't believe we have any in the immediate, although there may be one. But yeah, we would definitely look to go out for competitive quotes. I think that answers your questions.
Councillor Flagg.
Yeah, I think it does. If these are not an immediate need, if we're not looking at replacing one next year or anything like that, then it doesn't seem prudent to be looking at multiple units for a price reduction. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, all those in favor of the recommendation? That is carried. That takes us to Planning, Building, and Bylaw Services. Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Planning, Building, and Bylaw Services Subcommittee is now in session. We have one presentation this evening. Linda Redmond, Senior Policy Planner, will be speaking to the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan. Ms. Redmond.
I don't have to turn anything on here? Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Linda Redmond. I am the Senior Policy Planner with the Town of Fort Erie's Community Planning Team. And I'm here tonight to present the first update on the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan. Upper Canada Consultants, who represent the landowners group, Richard DeCourt, Mitch Williams, and Vaughn Gibbons, within the study area, are here tonight as well to answer any questions, technical matters. So the purpose of today's presentation is to update Council on the progress made to date, present the current conceptual land use concept, summarize feedback received from stakeholders and the public, discuss how key issues are being addressed, and outline the next steps towards completion of the secondary plan. Bridgeburg North was identified as Fort Erie's highest priority for a secondary plan project back in 2021 and represents an important opportunity to proactively plan for future growth and development within the Bridgeburg area. The study overview. The Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan area is located within the northeast portion of the town of Fort Erie, generally within the Bridgeburg community, and is bounded by Phipps Street to the south, Thompson Road to the west, and Niagara River Parkway to the north and east. The existing community of Bridgeburg is to the south, and the plan area is approximately 165 hectares in size. The area is located within the Frenchman's Creek watershed and with the main branch of the Frenchman's Creek and its tributaries crossing the study area. The other existing land uses within and surrounding the study area include agriculture lands, vacant and undeveloped parcels, natural heritage areas, rural residential uses, limited commercial and employment uses, and a few cemeteries. Adjacent lands include established residential neighborhoods, transportation corridors, and municipal infrastructure that will influence future development patterns within this plan area. The project team consists of myself, a senior policy planner. I'm leading the secondary plan process, coordinating consultant work, stakeholder engagement, technical review, policy development, and reporting back to council. We also have a technical review committee comprised of Town of Fort Erie internal staff who bring specialized expertise in planning, engineering, infrastructure, environmental management, transportation, park servicing, and growth management. This team is carefully reviewing all studies and development concepts to ensure they align with council's objectives, community priorities, and long-term planning goals. The town is relying heavily on the knowledge, experience, and professional judgment of its internal experts throughout this process. Their technical review helps to ensure that decisions are informed, balanced, and grounded in sound planning and engineering principles. In addition, we have representatives on this committee from Niagara Region, the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority, and Niagara Parks Commission. They will be providing technical input and regulatory guidance throughout the study process. So the progress to date, we've had significant progress so far. All Phase 1 studies documenting existing conditions have been completed and reviewed. These studies examined transportation, servicing, environmental conditions, archaeological uses, land use compatibility, environmental site conditions, and watershed characteristics. The purpose of these studies is to determine which lands are suitable for development, identify environmentally sensitive areas requiring protection, and establish how infrastructure and municipal services can support future growth. We have engaged the community focus group, the technical review committee, and the environmental advisory committee, as well as we've had one open house with the public. This work has informed development of the preliminary land use concept that is now currently being refined. So what have we heard at these various consultation processes? There's been a strong and consistent message throughout that the residents and stakeholders support growth but want to ensure that development respects natural heritage features and maintains the character of the area. Connectivity was repeatedly identified as a priority, particularly overcoming barriers created by natural systems and the transportation corridors. There was also strong support for a complete community with various housing options, walkability, parks, trails, and local services. The technical reviewers have focused preliminary on the environmental constraints and ensuring that future development is supported by appropriate servicing and infrastructure. Some key public questions and concerns that we heard at the open house centered around environmental protection measures, future development timing, municipal servicing requirements, school accommodation planning if required, future amendments to the secondary plan, and an overall interest focused on balancing growth with the environmental stewardship. So how are we addressing some of these key issues? Environmental protection remains a primary consideration. The Phase 1 sub-watershed study has identified significant environmental features and will inform the limits of the development. Areas requiring protection will remain undeveloped, and opportunities for enhancement and restoration have been incorporated into the concept. The NPCA and the town's senior environmental planner, together with the environmental consultants, will be staking the wetland limits on site this week as they move into Phase 2 of the study. The EAC committee will continue to play a vital role in reviewing the sub-watershed study and informing staff and stakeholders. Connectivity is another major focus. The concept includes a future crossing of the Frenchman's Creek to improve movement between the north and south portions of the community and provide greater connectivity for residents, pedestrians, and cyclists. With respect to transportation, a Phase 1 transportation study has been completed, which identifies the current conditions and makes recommendations to move forward. The future phases will provide future road configurations, intersection improvements, and a potential roundabout opportunity that will continue to be evaluated through subsequent phases of the study. Density numbers will also be finalized during the next phases of the studies. At this stage, no final decisions have been made, but transportation planning remains an important component of the project. Circulation to appropriate approval authorities has been requested. All the studies are following the appropriate guidelines from the various provincial authorities having jurisdiction. Town staff are overseeing the review of the studies and ensuring the appropriate approvals have been obtained and guidelines have been followed. The project is still underway, and a formal circulation will include all required agencies and government bodies as prescribed by the Planning Act later in the summer. So again, we're seeing a theme here. Obviously, it's the natural heritage system that runs through these lands. The slide up at this point is the Schedule G of the town official plan, that identifies the natural environment systems features on the subject lands. The natural features cover a significant extent of the study area. The natural heritage features identified through the Phase 1 subwatershed study include PSWs, significant coastal wetlands and non-significant wetlands, significant woodlands, other woodlands, non-significant valley lands, fish habitat, habitat of endangered and threatened species, significant wildlife habitat. Phase 2 of the subwatershed study will include the analysis, impact assessment, mitigation, and recommendations, and Phase 3 will consist of a comprehensive implementation plan, monitoring plan, and adaptive management plan. So here we have the first kick at the first concept. This is Phase 1. The development lands are limited given the significant natural features within the plan area. The findings of the Phase 1 subwatershed study have aided in the development of this initial land use plan and will assist in establishing appropriate environmental protection policies and development limits within the secondary plan area. The conceptual land use plan illustrates a mixture of land uses, including community areas in the yellow, environmental protection areas, dark and light green, open space, park locations, swim pond locations, trail locations, and a road crossing over the creek that will ensure connectivity between the north and the south. The concept identifies a potential trail system along the buffer area, and shown as a blue hatched line. And the concept also identifies environmental restoration and enhancement areas in the hatched areas. The areas for removal are marginal features that exhibit low-quality natural heritage function and are dominated by invasive species. The proposed enhancement areas are targeted to enhance the significant features and overall provide a better system. This concept remains preliminary and will continue to evolve as Phase 2 and Phase 3 studies are completed and the wetlands are staked. The next phases of the project will focus on preparing a more detailed land use concept, including estimated unit density numbers. The plan will identify a mix of land uses, including low-density residential uses such as detached homes, semi-detached dwellings, and street townhouses, as well as medium-density residential uses such as low-rise apartments and block townhouses. Open space areas will also be more precisely identified to accommodate active parkland and stormwater management facilities. Opportunities for active transportation will be incorporated throughout the open space system and along buffer areas adjacent to environmental protective lands. Environmental protection areas identified through the technical studies, including wetland staking and the final phases of the subwatershed study, will be shown on the final conceptual plan and protected from development. As additional technical work is completed, there may be refinements to the boundaries of the environmental protection areas than what is shown in this first plan. The final plan will form the basis of the policy framework for the secondary plan area. Next steps. So over the coming months, staff and consultants will complete the remaining technical studies and refine the conceptual land use plan. The draft policy framework will then be prepared and reviewed by the Technical Review Committee before being presented to the Community Focus Group and the public. Formal circulation will occur with Indigenous communities, school boards, agencies, Niagara Region, NPCA, and other prescribed bodies. The goal is to bring forward a draft secondary plan for statutory consultation and council consideration following completion of the technical work and public review process this fall. Thank you, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I noticed one thing on the current concept slide number 1, that one right there, that it shows 3 conceptual swim pond locations. And I know on other applications, we've seen them referred to as swim ponds, but they really aren't swimming ponds. I'm just wondering, is that something that maybe should be changed in terms of what we're calling it? If it's not for swimming, or are they for swimming, the ponds?
Through you, Chair Christensen, they're stormwater management ponds.
Okay, and that's
So-
where I just mentioned, I think it gives the impression, either we should maybe spell it out, because I know in some other planning applications, it's mentioned swim ponds, and I know we don't want people swimming in these, so if we can correct it early, it might be worth. Other than that, thank you very much, and very nice to see this moving along finally.
Great.
Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Councillor Christensen, and thank you for your presentation. In the focus group that you had, how many residents participants did you have?
Through you, Chair Christensen, I believe we had 13 members that were allocated to the focus group. I believe the first meeting we had, I'm trying to think now, 9 of them attended.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Getting back to the stormwater management ponds, I'm curious as to why they would be required way back into the environmentally sensitive areas, and how we would not disturb those areas by going back in and developing them.
Through you, Chair Christensen, the ponds right now are conceptual. They're just identifying possible locations for them. But they're located currently on lands that would be designated for development. They're not located on areas that are to be protected.
If I can continue but why would they be required way back into environmentally sensitive areas?
I'm not understanding your question, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry? I'm good. I'll ask a different way another time. Thank you.
Have the report coming up, so. I just had one question. Do you, just looking at the conceptual diagram, and I'm sure it will, I've seen comments, public comments with respect to the Bridgeburg plan being prepared. What approximately how many of the 165 hectares are considered to be potentially developable, or do you know that at this point?
Through you, Chair, unfortunately, I don't know that at this point.
At this point,
Because it's still being refined.
yeah. Yeah, it's just that I'm sure that will come up with respect to, again, emphasis on, and thank you very much for the emphasis on environmental protection. I think it's going to be quite critical just looking at
Yes, noted.
Thank you very much. I
Excuse me,
appreciate
Chair.
your
I
presentation.
had a question, if I might.
Yes, your worship.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Since we're looking at land use plan option 1, that was created as part of this process, and is this a document from the consultant, or is this a document that the town staff has prepared?
Through you, Chair, this is a document prepared by the consultants.
Okay, and so I had indicated to the Director of Planning there were a couple of inaccuracies on this, one of which is the lack of a water channel through the north portion along the north boundary of this property. That will be presumably corrected as this goes forward?
Through you, Chair. The senior environmental planner on staff has reviewed all the options as well as the subwatershed study, as well as has taken it to EAC for their review and comment. And she has identified that there are some smaller water courses that have not been shown, and she's asked for them to be identified on the plan. And also, if they are to be removed or relocated, that information is provided as well. So this is just phase one. That will be identified further in phase two and then phase three.
Right. I appreciate that it's phase one, but phase one leads to phase two, and the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone, et cetera. And one other question, and that is, you mentioned a road network, and you mentioned a crossing of Frenchman's Creek north to south. Why would there be a need to, A, cross from north to south, and B, why would it be advisable to be going through an environmentally protected area, which is clearly identified here?
That's a preference of the landowners. However, with respect to the technical response, I'd prefer if the consultants answer that question, because I think they've done a lot of review on this matter. So I think Barb Weens could answer that with much more clarity for councils.
Thank you. Madam Chair, through you. That's a very good question, Mr. Mayor, and we've looked at kind of the various opportunities to service this area. One of the elements that is driving, I'm going to say, the need for a crossing is a sanitary sewer. Given the location of where the pumping or where the sanitary treatment plant is, and the grades of the land and the grades of the existing sewer on Niagara River Parkway, in order to service the northern part of those lands by gravity sewer, it can happen if there's a crossing of the Frenchman's Creek. Otherwise, there would be the need for a pumping station in the northern to service the area and bring the sewer or the sanitary flows up and around and down the parkway. So there's a combination of issues that's driving kind of the whether or not there's a need for the crossing. From a community planning perspective, having connectivity between the various neighborhoods is important to building part of a complete community and that connectivity. So whether or not it's a full road crossing or maybe it's a pedestrian crossing and infrastructure crossing, all of those things are still to be determined at this stage. I would also want to let Council aware that if there is going to be a crossing, there would have to be a full environmental assessment process undertaken as well. So at this stage, we've identified it as a flag, that there is a potential for a crossing, and there will be policies developed in the secondary plan that will specify the requirements for that crossing, and particularly the need for a environmental assessment approval process where all the options get looked at. But yeah, there's a couple of drivers around whether or not you want to call it a need or a desire or the opportunity for a crossing of the creek.
If I might, Chair. So my recollection is that the Angora Avenue currently has a line that runs up Thompson Road to the Bowen Road allowance.
Yes.
It runs along the Bowen Road allowance, and then it goes presumably north to Angora Avenue.
Correct.
So that the parcel that's shown in yellow, the community development portion on the right side of the map, that can be serviced fairly easily without crossing anything. Since the wastewater line goes up Thompson Road to Bowen, it could also run along Thompson Road, could it not?
And those are things that are being investigated
Right.
and looked at, but I think there's issue with respect to the depth of the sewer there, and that's what's potentially driving the need for a pumping station.
Right, and I noticed that the pumping station was referred to in one of the future studies, whatever the cost might be. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. We now, we have no other presentations or delegations, but the first report on the agenda is PBBS 26-2026, the Community Improvement Program application for the 3727 West Main Street, moved by Councillor Lewis. That report is now on the floor for questions and comments.
I will say this will,
Noyes?
yes, this will be a welcome addition to Stevensville. I know that when the downtown Fort Erie did a public, what would you like to see in Stevensville? A bakery was one of the top 3 priorities.
Are there any other comments or questions? That being said, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We now come to 9.2.2 PBBS 27-2026, the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan status report. Councillor Dubanow moves. That report is now on the floor. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you. One of my questions was how many of the focus groups attended, and only 9 of the 13 so far didn't. So I'm just wondering if we can make sure that those, since it's such a small number to start with, when you have a third not being able to attend, that perhaps we need to ensure that there's a better attendance from the focus groups.
Can you make note of that, Ms. Redmond, for scheduling purposes? Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? There being none, call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That also is carried. We now move to PBBS 28-2026, the extension of draft plan of subdivision approval recommendation report for Fort Erie Hills subdivision. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor McDermott moves. That report is now on the floor for questions or comments. Your Worship.
Sorry. There is a retained portion in the bottom part of that plan that's been approved to date on the be the east side of the development, so closest to Crooks and just south of the Bowen Road allowance. Have there been any discussions with this developer about a school, which is something that I had raised at the open house with respect to this Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan? I wonder if the Director of Planning has any knowledge of that.
Through you, Madam Chair, we have had discussions with the developer on those 2 parcels, but it's my understanding that they want to continue with this draft plan extension, and they are coming in for a red line revision to the easterly section in near future. But it's my understanding that they are not interested in proceeding with location of school at that location.
Okay. So this would be the 4th extension? Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that would be the 4th extension.
I understand that there have been some concerns, and there was, I think, the death of one of the previous owners, and this has changed hands several times. But there have been changes in policies, provincial policies. There have been changes in our official plan. I'm going to support this extension, considering it's a new owner. I'm not I'm a little concerned about the extent of the red line revisions that might be coming forward, and so from my perspective, I'd like to make sure that the developer is aware that at least one of us on this council is not necessarily supportive of continuing the extensions of this draft plan. I mean, we're now getting some distance away from what was originally presented to council, and now we're being told that there's going to be some changes to that. I think it's important that we make sure that this either moves forward or there's a new plan. So perhaps that could be conveyed to the owner as well. I only speak for myself, obviously, but I think the owner should be aware of that. So, yeah, those were the concerns that I had in connection with this, but I will support the extension.
Are there any other comments? And you'll make sure that the developer understands.
Yes, Madam Chair, we would
Yes.
like.
I would say that I concur with the mayor. From my knowledge, what I've learned in the last few years is that it's sometimes it's used as a bit of a stalling tactic and game, and I'm not entirely supportive of doing that until the rules change and we have to change our original intent as well. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is also carried. The next is PBBS 29-2026, proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for 4991 Dubanow Hills Road. Moved by His Worship. That is now on the floor for comment and question. Councillor Lewis. Yeah, I would say that I'm showing the correct location on mine, but I can see from yours, yes, you are, so I don't know what happened.
Thank you for confirming.
Yeah, no, you actually, that is Burley and Dominion, I recognize it. That being said, so we'll solve that later. Ms. Delwaria.
Madam Chair, through you to the councillor, yes, we have looked into the septic tank. Our region has reviewed it, and the septic tank currently connects to both the main dwelling as well as the accessory dwelling, and it has been reviewed by the region, and they are supportive of this application.
Okay, that was my understanding. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you for the clarity, and thank you for confirming it's not just me looking at this.
No, it's definitely Burley and Dominion. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Our last report for this evening, PBBS 30-2026, the administrative penalty update to the swimming pool bylaw 149-2008 to strengthen public safety and enforcement. Can I get a mover, please? Councillor Lewis. That report is on the floor. Yes, Your Worship.
I'm supportive of the notion that the penalties are out of date and they need to be increased. I've got some questions, and I see that both the author of the report and the bylaw enforcement head are here. I've got some concerns about the first three offenses that are listed, and I'm wondering if I could maybe get some clarity on that.
Mr. Bailey, can you please come?
If I might then. So if you have the appendix that deals with the proposed AMPS penalties in front of you, the very first one, which relates to section 2.1, talks about fail to erect or maintain pool enclosure in accordance with bylaw. I can understand how that could be a continuing problem. So there could be a penalty. The next year, there could be another penalty, the same thing. That's the purpose of the escalating Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 penalty schedule. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Is this a problem that we've encountered?
I would say in relation to permanent in-ground pools, no. Under the circumstances of potentially seasonal pools where they are of the height requirement, but they can be taken down in the fall and then reinstalled in the spring. We have seen in the past those barriers not reinstalled for that season.
So, seems like sorry, maybe my Scottish ancestry is coming out, but it seems like a fairly large penalty.
Yeah.
That's due to the safety concern?
Your Worship, I can say that I have personally experienced loss of life due to pools not having installed safety barriers or fences, anything of that nature. I would say that this is definitely of great concern, and I don't think that it's high enough personally. Other offenses and other bylaws are of this amount. Some would be for tree cutting, as council's aware. Some would be for advertising short-term rentals. I feel that this is definitely a way to deter any loss of life going forward.
Okay, I appreciate that. Can I go to the second and third penalties then? So, I guess my questions really relate to if you catch someone who has installed a pool without a permit, they would be fined according to this.
Correct.
They would be required to get a permit, I presume.
Correct.
And like a building permit, are they obligated to pay double the cost of the permit fee?
It's my understanding that is how the building department would operate, because it would be considered a build without a permit, so that permit fee would be doubled.
Okay, so once they've got the permit,
Yep.
there won't be a Tier 2 offense, will there?
No, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 offenses are strictly for those, I would say, residents or maybe visitors who don't apply for a permit and continually do not apply for that permit or obtain a building permit.
Okay, but just, so I'm not sure that I'm following. If my neighbor puts in a pool without a permit, and I call the town, and you go out or one of your colleagues goes out, you lay a charge.
Correct.
And is there an order also issued requiring them to get a permit?
In my understanding of the bylaw framework, that would be an order that would be issued under the bylaw. So there is that option as well.
But, so there's no way for you to compel them to get a permit?
Correct. There is no way for us to compel somebody to get a permit without
Okay,
increasing
so
the
if
enforcement.
they get charged with an AMPS, they don't get the permit, you now can issue another ticket if there's a further complaint by the same person for the same pool for which they didn't get a penalty. And that would apply as well then with respect to the third item, which is putting water in the pool. So you haven't got a permit for your pool, you put water in the pool, somebody comes out, or you come out, you charge the person, they still don't get a permit. Yeah, okay, I understand now. Okay, that's clear. Takes me sometimes a little longer to learn these things, but I can eventually learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Noyes.
This may sound like a silly question, but when's a pool a pool?
Pool is any type of, I would say any type of structure that can hold water and is above 24 inches in height.
Okay, so 2 feet.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lewis.
Yeah, just a brief question with respect to the permit or the fine for installing a pool without a permit being $500, and I understand your explanation, I agree with it on the fine with respect to the enclosure around the pool. But if the pool itself is the danger, is there any reason why the fine for building a pool without a permit would not be similar to the erecting the, or failing to erect the fence around the actual safety? Like, the fence is not the safety problem. The pool without the permit or the fence is the safety issue. Was there ever any consideration to a higher fine for the installation of a pool without a permit? And I know that was a lot of words thrown
No,
at you.
I understand your question. Councillor Lewis, the general thought is it really is dependent on the pool. Certain pools don't require a pool enclosure dependent on their height.
Yep.
The pool could be used as the enclosure, so it would be subject to the type of pool that's being installed. And generally speaking, most pools that are installed without a permit also would not comply with those fence requirements or the enclosure requirements, and that's where we would start.
Thank you.
Councillor Noyes.
Well, thank you. I think there's an educational portion here. Because it came up actually at our meeting about the, where there's a door from the house, really, going into the patio area that's also the pool area. And one of the comments was, we have a lock at the top of our patio door, and, it's like 5 feet or 6 feet or whatever. That's not what this says. This says it has to be self-closing door from a building to a pool area. So a patio door that has that lock on the top would not meet this requirement.
It's my understanding that there are certain provisions dependent on the type of door, because there are some that talk about self-latching, but it would be something that would probably have to be discussed with building, to my understanding, as they would review the enclosure requirements when they receive the permit application. But I know in the past that we have seen properties with either the self-closing or the latching mechanism, and latch mechanisms are subject to a certain height. I'm just not exactly certain on that certain height at the moment.
Okay, well, thank you, but it basically says failure to have a self-closing door from a building directly to the pool area. And I know
Correct.
in our meeting, we were talking about patio doors, which many times that's exactly what they are. They go to the pool area, and they have a safety lock on top. That wouldn't fit this.
I believe self-closing doors are for the man doors that would swing open and close. I believe patio doors have a different understanding to the building department, but that would be a question that we could review further.
Yeah, because it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So if patio doors with the lock on the top is no longer sufficient, then we need to educate the public, because I think even in our meeting, we thought that would be sufficient. So just, anyway, that's my question.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that report is, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor McDermott? Okay, all those opposed? That carries. We now come to new business inquiries. Is there any new business or an inquiry? No? All right, then business status report. Any questions? That being said, I now call the meeting of Planning, Building and Bylaw Services to a close and return the chair to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Christensen. That takes us to Infrastructure Services. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Councillor. It's, Louis, when you read this report, I know we had the report a little while ago too, and it's somewhat overwhelming when you look at the numbers. But I'm drawing your attention to the Hempson report on page 6. It talks about in the long term, meaning 20 years, there's going to be an annual, this is a recommendation report, it's for information purpose, I understand that, 4.9% per year for water and 6.4% for wastewater for each of the 20 years. So that would mean that water in the next 20 years will go up 100%, and wastewater would go up 128%. If this is what happens, and I know inflation and other things that we can't control, but I think that really behooves us to look for efficiencies and servicing, et cetera, because when people hear that in the next 20 years, hopefully we will all be around, 100% increase and 128% increase, and we're just talking water and sewer, and I don't have a solution for it, other than we have to look for efficiencies. And I also noticed that, again, water and sewer, if you go to page 10, and I had a chance to talk to Bishop Easel about this too, or mentioned, I see stormwater, share of the total, average cost for his, that is page 10, and it's the chart there. I don't know, this is the Hempson report.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it has 53%, 53.7% for stormwater, and then in water again, 37%, and then 63%, and not, you know, it just, the numbers just are, wow. How can we control this, and what can we do? Again, I don't have the solution.
I will mention that. The other thing I'll mention. Ask the director.
Through the chair to you, Councillor Noyes. Yes, this is a recommendation report. This is based on current practices and a proposed level of service. Infrastructure Services is always looking at new technology and new advancements in technology to improve efficiency, as well as reducing our future costs. We are always currently looking for grants and opportunities to reduce this cost as well.
Councillor Noyes, you still have the floor.
And I'm wondering, this was done a few months ago, I think. It was dated in March. Recently, we heard about the development charges, you know, the different levels of government taking up a certain percentage, and the town then would basically have to figure out how to do, we would have to eat, I think, the 10%, if I'm being very loose with the numbers here. Does this, I don't imagine this report takes that into consideration, that we may not be able to collect the 10% of development charges that we are currently attracting. Now, could be the offset that more development will happen, and the cost will be spread over you know, more people, more houses. But I can't imagine that this report took that new change in legislation into account.
And I'll yield back to the director and staff for clarity on that question from Councillor Noyes.
Through the chair, that does not take that into account. We are looking at projects that are housing enabling projects to increase our users here in Fort Erie. That'll obviously balance out some of this additional costs.
Councillor Noyes, you still have the floor.
No, that's fine, thank you.
I'll go to your worship next.
Yeah, on that last point, my understanding is that the development charges revenue that we receive can go to upgrading or expanding or extending infrastructure, not maintaining existing infrastructure, correct?
Director?
Through the chair, that is correct, but there is opportunities to improve our capacity in our current system.
Your worship.
Well, I understand that. That would be development charges, but we're talking about an asset management plan, so we're talking about maintaining the infrastructure that we've got. Any new infrastructure, of course, becomes part of the long-term asset management plan, but development charges can't be utilized to maintain existing assets, correct?
Director
CAO.
Piesel or CAO?
I'll defer that to the CIO.
Through you to the mayor, I may be looking across at Mr. Jansen to correct this, but I do believe that there is some provision for development charge attraction for increasing capacity in the current system. So for example, we're doing some infiltration and inflows into the existing system through the relining project. The fact that we pick capacity up in the existing system, it has some opportunity for us to attract development charges for those projects because they are gaining capacity in the existing system. So it's, albeit somewhat limited, there is some ability for us to attract development charges to increase capacity in existing infrastructure.
Your worship.
Okay, well, I don't think that's correct. I think I'd like some clarification on that because if you're increasing the capacity in an existing system, that's an appropriate development charge allocation. If you're looking for funding to manage your assets, your existing assets, that's a completely different thing. So maybe we can get some clarity on that. We just received notification that we're going to be getting $1 million in grant funding from the region for some of our wastewater infrastructure. So that's an example of funding that we get that isn't accounted for. There will be other programs. We've applied for at various times provincial and federal grant funding, so we'll get that. There's no certainty on how much we'll get unless and until the upper levels of government establish a program that provides some predictability and ability for municipalities to rely on that funding. But that's surely something that's going to be happening at some point in the future, because Fort Erie is not alone. And Fort Erie may very well be in a much better position than most other municipalities. Do we have any data whatsoever that indicates where Fort Erie stands in relation to other municipalities, either same size or similar situation?
Director Peasel or CAO McQueen?
Through you to the mayor, I'm going to defer the question to Mr. Jensen. I believe he's got an answer for that.
Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, through you. The original report for Hemson was brought to council at the April Council and Committee, and there was a presentation that did include comparisons for a number of areas. So we could go back to look at that presentation to see some of those comparisons there.
Okay, and those comparisons, I would imagine, Chair, are reliant upon those municipalities providing accurate information and detailed information and not fluff of any sort.
I think the key word there is rely on.
Right. So would we have any information, can Mr. Jansen comment on that, whether we know the reliability of that information?
Mr. Jensen, to the reliability of the neighboring municipalities' information?
It's a great question. We do struggle to find good comparability. I know when it came to our work with Hemson, with the consultants, a lot of the work was to scrape information from websites and other plans and to try and ensure comparability. But certainly at budget time, we do talk about desire to see the province provide more measures and reporting that would enhance our comparability. But for now, it mostly did rely on reviews of other asset management plans and other financing strategies.
So just a couple of comments and then a final question about one of the assets. We know, as a matter of fact, that Fort Erie is expending more money on capital projects to maintain existing infrastructure than most other municipalities in Niagara. And on some occasions, we spend as much money as the larger cities. So we know that we're making those investments, and part of it has to do with the geography. We're spread out. We have long water and wastewater systems. We have long road network systems. So we have an obligation to do that. But as we go forward, I think it's important for us, as the report indicates, we have to look at the levels of service, but we also have to establish what our priorities are going to be. We're spending a lot of money on some areas which have been helpful to attract newcomers to the community, particularly younger families, but I think we need to get an eye on what the priorities are and where we can actually spend money. The other concern that I have really relates to this most recent scare that we've had about governance and the potential for amalgamations. It's very prudent for us, for this municipality over the last 12, 13, 14 years to be allocating a portion of our budget each year to infrastructure renewal. We were the first to do it. We still probably do more than the other municipalities. But there's a underlying concern that I have, and that is that if we're compelled to amalgamate with another municipality, whether larger, smaller, one or more, our residents have made already financial commitments to their infrastructure. If that becomes infrastructure in a larger entity, that is kind of a free pass to whatever the larger entity is to be able to utilize our residents to provide taxes, to provide funding for the infrastructure of the other areas. So I'm very concerned about that. And I don't think that we take our eye off the ball of making sure that we've got good infrastructure, because I believe that's part of the argument that we will advance in the future about why Fort Erie should be allowed to continue on as an entity that can manage fiscal prudence and address the needs of the residents in our community. So I'm supportive of us doing what we need to do. I think we can't, this is the kind of report that you don't like to see, but it's the kind of report you have to see so that you at least know, okay, so there's some decisions we have to make. They're hard decisions, and let's be open-eyed when we make those decisions. So I want to thank the staff for continuing on this. And it's just that those are some issues that I think we need to take a good hard look at. And we need to continue to advocate for more funding from the provincial and federal levels of government because they just can't keep shifting responsibilities to local taxpayers in areas where we don't have a mandate. They can help us in areas where we do have a mandate. And when I say we don't have a mandate, I mean things like hospital local contributions as an example. Anyways, thanks.
I don't disagree. You said there was a question, though. Is there a question?
The question is, yes, thank you, Councillor Lewis. So the question has to do with natural assets, and I know the natural assets aren't included in here, but our storm water systems include things like ditches and some of the municipal drains, some areas that aren't municipal drains. Are any of those assets, or are all those assets except the ones which aren't managed by the municipality? So creeks that aren't municipal drains, are those all part of the asset management inventory for stormwater?
Thank you for the question. Director Peasel.
Through the chair, so it would only be town-owned assets that are part of the asset.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
It's only the town-owned assets that are included in this report.
Okay, so we've got 30-something municipal drains. We don't own those drains. Typically, they're on private property. So we would not include any of those drains?
The municipal drains are funded by through the Municipal Drainage Act, or through the Drainage Act, sorry,
Right.
and they're paid for by the residents that are on those drains.
Okay, so the question is, they're not included then in the asset management plan inventory?
They are not included in the asset plan, no.
Okay, so then I have a further comment, and the further comment is that shockingly, stormwater infrastructure is a large portion of the responsibilities in this asset management plan. I would think that we would want to look for ways, and maybe we are, look for ways that we can take advantage of those assets to reduce our costs in addressing the drainage issues in the municipality. How that's done, I don't know, but the consultant that we've hired, the engineers that we have on staff, I'm sure can sort that out, because I see some long-term potential savings if we can utilize those assets, whether they're natural assets that we own and aren't included, or they're assets that are natural assets but somebody else owns. I think they're part of the solution, particularly when we have our own climate change adaptation plan. Anyways, going to get off the soapbox now.
We can take that certainly back. Any comments or to that? No?
No comment, no.
Seeing none. Councillor Christensen, you had your hand up first, and then I'll go to Councillor Noyes.
This is somewhat artisanal and tangential to the main topic of asset management, but I noticed in the Henson report that the population, the statement of population for Fort Erie was based on the 2021 census and refers to achieving a population of 41,000 people by 2041. We're already at between 37 and 38,000, and we've got another 15 years to go to 2041. I would just caution that I would ask staff in dealing with consultants, and specifically on issues that are of such grave concern as our asset and infrastructure, that be something that the consultants are made aware of. There will be a new census data coming out later this summer at a very high level, so that will correct it. But I think it's quite critical that that just be back of mind for staff.
And I see heads nodding behind you that they've heard that. Thank you. Councillor Noyes?
Yeah, just wanted clarification. We talked about the drainage, the drains that are here. Now, I do understand that the residents, probably 80%, probably about 90% of the drains are on private property, but there is about
And you're talking municipal drains in this case?
municipal drains,
Okay.
yes. About 10% do fall they fall on town property and region property. So being at enough of those meetings and stuff, that the town sometimes is hit with 60,000 or 40,000, the region sometimes is hit, but, for parts that are ours. So there is some ownership in regards to that. I don't know if this report has taken any of that in consideration.
Director Piesel, any comments on Councillor Noyes' question?
Through the chair, I don't have that information right now, but I can bring that back to you.
Anything further, Councillor Noyes? Any other questions from members of council? I do have one with respect to the municipal drain question that came up a couple of times tonight. I understand in Fort Erie's situation, it's the individuals that benefit from the municipal drain that pay into, they live in the watershed, they benefit from the drain, they pay into it. But is it fair to say that not all municipalities recover the costs for drains in the same fashion, where some municipalities may have it as a general levy offsetting some of the costs, or is it always those that live within the municipal drain watershed that pay for that improvement? Director or CAO?
Thank you, the button's acting up. I can't speak to what other municipalities do. The Municipal Drain Act is a provincial legislation, so I would assume that all municipalities within Ontario would collect funds the same way for the municipal drains.
Okay, thank you for that clarity. If there's no other questions, I will call the question. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, that carries. My computer screen stopped, and that moves us to the next report, One sec. Bear with me here. Thank you. IAS report 10.2.1, ISO 7 2026, Recreation and Facilities Allocation Guidelines. I saw Councillor Flagg's hand up first. Any questions or comments to this report? Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to receive a little clarity. The wording goes through and it says indoor, outdoor recreational space, and then it talks about spaces and allocating spaces. Am I correct in the assumption that this is only recreational space, meaning parks or the leisureplex or the banquet hall, and not office space?
So I see we've been joined at the podium, and I'll turn it over to staff for a response to that question.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, yes, that's correct.
Easy. See? Yes and no questions.
Before you go away, we'll just see if there's any other questions from council. Seeing none, thank you. And thank you for the report. Quite looking forward to seeing this move forward, assuming it will tonight. That being said, I will call the question. All those in favor? Seeing none opposed, that also carries. That brings us now to new business and inquiries. Are there any new business or inquiries from members of council? Your worship.
10.31.
Oh, did you have a question, or you were just moving? Any questions from members of council? Your worship.
So my understanding is that the new official plan has something that bears on this. I wonder if we could confirm that with the director of planning.
Mr. Warrior.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to His Worship. Yes, there are policies in our official plan that talks about that we could take money from the developer and ask him to urbanize a road which is outside his development. And we also have policies that talk about sidewalks that we can take cash in lieu. So we have those policies.
Your Worship.
So I take it that in order for us to do more than just receive this, we need to give some direction to staff to proceed with developing a policy, or is that something that emanates automatically if we pass this resolution or support this memo?
Director DeWaria, we'll start with.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to His Worship, I think that's what the memo is mentioning, that staff should be directed to provide some more stringent policies or some policy document that we can work towards urbanization of roads.
So I'd like to move that, and I think the last page of the memo outlines the things that we're looking for, because I support the notion that if we're going to be permitting new developments, that the road network should be upgraded. And I don't want to get caught on that again, so I would move that we direct staff to proceed to develop a policy for us.
Okay, any questions or comments to that addition? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed? That has carried. Are there any other new business or inquiries from members of council? Seeing none, the business status report. Any questions or comments from council with respect to that? Seeing none, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor Redekop.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lewis. That takes us then to Corporate and Community Services. Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Corporate and Community Services now in session. We have a presentation this evening by Clark Burnett, Manager, Museum and Cultural Services. Good evening, Mr. Burnett. And there's a button there I'm sure you're going to find.
I think Cole's got me. He told me I can go up too. See, there we go. Fancy. Anyways, you've got that. Excellent. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to present to you for the first time. I'm going to attempt to keep this brief, not a very big, strong point of mine, but I'm here to present with you the direction for the museums over the next 3 years. I've been with the town since February, and I'm very excited about the possibilities that present themselves in this community. There's some urgency to this report. As the moment I started, I was aware that the province had put a funding requirement on the 2026 Community Museum Operating Fund that they provide annually to Fort Erie museums, that the requirement is that a strategic plan must be completed and approved by council by the end of this month. This gave a sense of focus in my first couple weeks here, and I've been working with the community to make this happen. This allowed me to purposefully do an environmental scan and speak to many people in the community and other departments. What that scan has resulted in is a short 3-year plan with a goal to modernize the museum services section. This plan sets out some clear actions that also leave some openings for opportunities. It's set to be dynamic and able to alter as the opportunities arise. We got the right one? There we go. So this is the current mandated museum services section. Council had approved this one in the past, and I plan on keeping it in place for the duration of this plan. We'll get into that as we get later on into the presentation. And I've added a vision and a mission to the work we do at the museum services in order to focus our team and the work that we do. The vision I'm presenting today is what we wish to see, that the Fort Erie Museum Services is where the community's stories are shared, preserved, and activated, a place where people are moved by history, connected through shared experiences, and inspired to see their place in Fort Erie's past, present, and future. Yeah, if I go the right way, we'll be good. And our mission is that we research, collect, preserve, and interpret the stories and heritage of Fort Erie. Through exhibitions, programming, digital access, and partnerships, we help people engage meaningfully with the past and with each other. These will guide us as we modernize the service for the people of Fort Erie. And we set up some values as well. We've added these the collaborative, storytellers, and authentic, and yes, we added fun. Our programs should be fun. Our volunteers should have fun doing what they do. People should enjoy our virtual exhibitions, our museums, and have an enjoyable time while visiting. These are hallmarks in place making and a sense of belonging to the community and our shared history. And we believe that these values can help move us along in the next couple of years. So I will cover the 4 pillars of our plan in a minute, but I'd like to provide some context and understanding as to how we have broken out the work over the next 3 years. This year is planned to establish a plan, develop, test, and do some early implementation by the team. Next year will be a year of execution, and by year 3, we should have a clear, established direction and start building for the next plan that will involve more community involvement, engagement, and the future of museums. What I will present is four key pillars. You also see in the plan there has been some specific research and presentation areas over those 3 years. This will permit the team to focus on specific areas and highlight different aspects of our collection and our town's history. It will allow staff to dive a little bit deeper into the stories that are important to our identity. It will provide more meaning and purpose. This will not mean that we won't tell other stories. We'll do programming, exhibitions, social media, and many other ways to tell the stories. It just allows the team to go beyond some superficial stories and dig a little bit deeper and provide meaning and connections to our past that tie into anniversaries and things that are important to this community. By the end of 3 years, there should not be a corner of Fort Erie that has not been covered. It will also allow the team to fine-tune processes and techniques. There is a need to digitize the archival material and artifacts in the collection, and it can't be done overnight. These focus areas will allow us to develop processes and systems to expand access of the entire collection for the community. So the museum's collections, teams, and holdings are a wonderful town asset. That is the center of the first pillar. Knowledge mobilization is about enhancing access to historical knowledge through digital platforms, research tools, exhibitions, and community-based learning. The goals are to expand digital exhibitions, resources, and archives, improve our access to historical information, and increase community capacity to preserve and share local history. Some of these actions were related to virtual exhibitions on the museum's microsite. So far this year, our team has already completed an interpretive panel story map that shows where the historic plaques are around the town so people can find them. We've also completed recently a community history story map based on the communities of Fort Erie, and we've got many more to come. We'll also work to get internal database to be shifted online. There's been incredible work amassed on information about Fort Erie's story. My belief is that this information should be available to the public for many purposes. That museums are not only the holders of knowledge, but obligated to share that within the community to support their interests and their needs. We'll also launch an active scanning and photography program for the collection as well. The aim is to start getting as much of our collection and information online as possible. Pillar number 2 is community engagement. Building meaningful relationships, participating pathways, partnerships, and volunteering. The goals of this are to foster everyday community participation, strengthen partnerships and collaborative programming, and expand volunteer roles and youth engagement in what we do. Some of the actions related to this is to get the collection into the community through programming and partnerships, develop community events and a programming plan. In this vein, we have recently established a relationship with the library and some joint programming at the Railway Museum. We're going to develop processes for collecting community stories from underserved groups, build a volunteer research corps, and develop partnerships. Pillar number 3 is storytelling, delivering emotionally resonant interpretations across exhibitions, digital experiences, and public programming. The goals are to refresh, elevate storytelling across permanent and temporary exhibitions, create emotional, participatory, and place-making narratives, and use the collection's strength to support impactful stories. Some of these include new exhibitions at the Historical Museum, explore new interpretation and refresh upgrades at all sites, develop a plan for virtual exhibitions that are deeper and more meaningful, develop a long-term plan for Town Hall, Leisureplex, and library installations that we already have, and more use of video storytelling in the community. And lastly, we have the boring bits, but the important bits, sustainability. Strengthening governance, operations, collections care, digital infrastructure, and long-term planning. All cores to what we do and allow it to do it right. Build resilient systems, ensure collections and heritage assets are protected, improve administrative efficiency and digital infrastructure, and build steady revenue streams. Actions under this heading are improve administrative software and internal tracking, standardizing service levels at all locations, review of the museum's policies, which is good practice anyways, collections care, long-term review of the outstanding projects and ongoing projects, address the long-term expansion, retention, and use of all databases, pursue grants, of course, and most importantly, develop the next plan. This is not the ideal way to develop a 3-year plan. I just did not have enough time to have as much community engagement as I wished, but now we have time to do it in our 3rd year. That's part of the plan, to develop the next plan and do it right. Oh, I almost sounded like I was ending there. Almost done. Thank you for your time, and I hope to see that this is a good plan for the people of Fort Erie. I was presented this plan to the Museum and Cultural Heritage Committee, who supported the principles and direction that this leads us in. They saw that this is a step towards modernization of museums and services that we provide to the community. It is ambitious, but also practical. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Questions, comments? Councillor Noyes?
I just lost my place on here. In regards to, thank you for your presentation, very well done. Just a time frame here, because I know in your report, it says it's important that we approve the strategic plan as soon as possible, because the grant application is due June 30th.
Correct.
So, okay, how much time do you need between the council approving it, because this is the 8th, right? Here's the 8th. We don't have another meeting for 2 more weeks. Is that going to give you enough time after, if it's, well, let's assume it's going to be approved. Does that give you enough time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions? Councillor Lewis.
I'll jump in. Thank you for the presentation. I'll start just by saying wow. It's nice to see a little bit of a different angle in terms of how we're approaching history and how we're bringing it out into the community. And I've long mentioned some of our community spaces, whether they be town-owned or other, being a good vehicle for doing that. I have one question when it comes to sustainability component of your slide. You mentioned additional revenue streams. I don't know historically if the museum here has done fundraisers, but I am familiar, having attended Niagara on the Lakes in the past.
Niagara Lake's a different world, I will say. I ran Niagara Lake for 9 years, so.
Absolutely. And Fort Erie's a different world too.
Yeah, absolutely. Every community is a little bit different, but anyway, sorry about that.
But is that something that the museum's also looking into in the future?
I haven't explored it a lot. Again, each community has its own ways of going at it. I will say in Niagara Lake, certainly the strength is the board in Niagara Lake doing that fundraising. If we have a advisory committee or a volunteer corps that can be that arm, absolutely we can work with that, but that really comes down to those types of opportunities. I think the revenue streams I'm looking at primarily become grant based and other ways to go at that, you know, and larger funds, but certainly there's boots in the ground things that I've been involved with before. In Niagara Lake, when I was there, I started up the Phoenix Foundation, a few other things along the way. But again, the opportunities need to be there and for the grassroots to sort of take place.
Perfect. And then the last question I have, and then just a quick comment. In terms of volunteers, since you've been with the museum operation, have you seen any increase or interest in new volunteers coming out to get involved in museum services?
Not yet, because we haven't set those systems in place. We need to get those systems in place. We need to have the call for action. Again, we have about a core of 9 to 10 volunteers that come out 1 day a week. I'm hoping to increase that, by 2-3 days to sort of come and get things done. But I've already expanded how many things we ask them to do. Again, we've got a virtual exhibition that we're working on. We want them to go through our oral histories that we have on in our system, because somebody's got to go through those and find the great snippets and all those types of things. So we're trying to find those opportunities to take advantage of. I'm going after a grant for no more digitization. That's going to be a very big one that we need to do, but we still need to buy photography, we need to get a better scanner, we need to get all the infrastructure in place before we put that call out. So, long story short, I haven't seen an increase because we haven't had that call to action yet.
And the other, and thank you for that. And the other being, I know you were a bit concerned with the timeline of strategic plan and maybe not as much community input. I don't know if you agree or not, but I look at strategic planning as more of a guiding document, not necessarily a checkbox of all the things you must create. But I would think, and maybe you disagree or agree, that you're in a good foundation to keep building on that with the plan of maybe 3 years from now, once you've got that foundation in place, starting that consultation process maybe a bit earlier and engaging the community. But I just wanted to share, I'm not overly concerned with a quick strategic plan. The fact that you even have one and the fact that you're getting out in the community with some of our history is, in my opinion, a benefit to the community. So thank you.
Councillor Christensen.
Thank you very much. I was very much impressed with the word storytelling. Data collection, history collection, analysis. It can be very exciting to the people who are doing it, who are well suited to it. Translating that into the magic of stories is what brings it alive. So I was very, very pleased to see that that's the approach you're taking. To me, that's what this community has, and I will say it bluntly, many people, when I moved here, said that, has a lot of magic. And stories are magic. They can be real, but they can bring life to what is the past and what's inanimate. And so, yeah, I want to thank you for that. Look forward to seeing what you do.
I was waiting for a question. No question?
Don't you agree?
Okay, good. I thought so. Your worship.
Yeah, you've had limited time to consult all of the potential stakeholders, but I'd be interested in knowing, you don't have to tell me tonight, I'd be interested in knowing which stakeholders you've been able to reach out to, because there may be others that you can take advantage of. Have you had an opportunity, or have you considered speaking to the members of council in terms of what information they've got, or what history or knowledge we have of the community, and maybe some other sources of information that might be available to you?
Certainly, of course. I'm always open to have councillors come to the museum. I invited all the councillors to have some input, or, I was sort of about 90% done at that stage, and I did reach out to councillors to sort of have some sit down with me as well.
And then, this isn't a question, but I wanted to commend you for your part in the 160th anniversary service that was held for the Battle of Ridgeway weekend a bit ago. It's an excellent service. Appreciate your participation in that and the assistance that you provided.
And Nicole and our team was highly involved in that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? I want to compliment council on not making any Councillor McDermott cracks during this museum and cultural presentation.
I think we just did.
Maybe.
So you may not know this, but his uncle is one of the great historians of the town, and there's a large collection of Louis McDermott's files and whatever, so yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, that'll bring us to CAO 08-2026. Thank you, Councillor Dubanow. On the floor for our comments, Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I saved my comments for the report because it wasn't so much of a question as it is just a comment about the strategic plan and the direction we're moving. And being the council representative on the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, I've had some opportunity to have input and look at museum services and how it moves forward. And I'm very, very pleased with where things appear to be going. I'm very happy that the strategic plan, despite, Mr. Burnett's comments about it being done quickly, as Councillor Lewis said, it is the fact that we have a strategic plan and it's being approved by council is very important. And I'm really happy to hear about utilizing our volunteers more. I personally feel that was something that we had lacked on the museum side of things. I thought we could leverage that better. There's a lot of shared knowledge in the history of our community all across town, and a lot of people are very keen and very interested to promote that and work with it. So I'm really happy to hear about that, and I think we have a lot of opportunity on the volunteer side to do some things once we get the wheels in motion of this strategic plan. So thank you very much to everyone involved, and I will be wholeheartedly supporting this and looking forward to how this pans out over the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Noyes.
Just clarification, because I think I perhaps didn't quite understand the whole thing. If we adopt this tonight, we've done what we need to do, so he can move forward with the application, right? We don't have to wait for a council meeting.
I believe that's correct.
Like, I didn't want to mislead anybody. Thank you.
Other comments? Councillor Lewis?
Quick comment, similar to Councillor Dubanow's with respect to the volunteer component, and I'll use EAC as an example. As a group of volunteers, if we had to pay for that level of expertise, we wouldn't be able to have them. And I think as the museum moves down its new path and direction, I think you'll see that interest come organically from the community, because there is interest in our shared heritage. And I use EAC as the example, a wonderful committee, a group of people that are very involved and knowledgeable. And we should try and replicate that in other avenues where needed and possible. And I think this is certainly one spot as well. So I will be supporting this and quite happily to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Lewis. Others? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries. Madam Clerk, I just want to make sure I'm not missing a report 9. I go from 8 to 10. Thank you. Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, we started at 8, now we're going to 10. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing 9, but now that's clear. So CAO 10, 2026, mover, thank you, Your Worship. On the floor for discussion. Your Worship.
So I just want to make clear that this provides staff with the, if it's passed, with the approval to proceed with the application, but final decisions would be made by council at such time. Well, I guess first of all, staff is going to have to be satisfied that this is financially viable or makes sense with the number of projects that we've got versus the revenue that we might be releasing. Is that correct?
CAO, do you have comment on that?
Sorry, could I get the question repeated?
Let me see if I can recapture what I just said. Staff is going to proceed, if authorized to do so, only if there's a financial viability in us giving up development charges for the amount of money that we could recover if our application is approved. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we will be bringing back something here for council to review terms of reference. The report really highlights what we know as of today. So there has not been a formal release of the program guidelines or the criteria other than some general terms that were covered off in the media announcement and the ministry backgrounder. So we believe we've got insight into what the program guidelines are because there was an earlier draft. And so we'll be following those, to your point, doing some financial analysis to see the viability. It's quite an extensive and complicated financial analysis, or we would have done maybe some preliminary for tonight. So a lot of moving parts, but we believe that on the basis of the criteria that we're looking at, this is going to be a fairly large, it would need to be a fairly large financial commitment from the province for it to make sense, not just for Fort Erie, but for any municipality in Ontario because of the gravity of the offset of the 30 to 50% reduction would apply across all residential units. So it becomes a fairly significant sum of money very quickly to see that kind of offset over 3 years for the DCs.
Right. And my understanding is, Chair, that there are projects that staff is going through now and there's a target that we think we can put forward. Is that correct?
CAO?
Yes, that is correct.
But and then the other question was, The actual final commitment that we would make would be after an application is made, if staff decides to proceed, and we receive notification from the province that all or part of what we've applied for is received. Council then has to make the final decision as to whether we're prepared to proceed to reduce DCs in exchange for whatever amount of money might be available. That's the way this would work. Is that correct?
I believe correct. CO?
Yes, that is our understanding. So the application process puts a stake in the ground that we are interested, that we have projects that we're putting forward. I suspect if this runs like other programs, they'll be reaching back to us to ensure that we understand all the terms and conditions that would need to come back to council to approve the terms and conditions under which we would be entering into prior to. So I don't have delegated authority to enter into the final agreement. It's just to submit the application and bring something back to council for that final commitment. My understanding is the province is hoping to have made final decisions by September, based on the timeline we've been told. So this would hopefully be coming back soon for residents to see what the impact could be.
And just finally, for clarity, this is an $8.8 billion program between the provincial government, Ontario, and the federal government, which was announced on June the 3rd. This is now June the 8th. Staff is still waiting for full particulars of the program, and the application is due June the 19th. Is that correct? Like 11 days from today?
Yes, that is correct. We understand the final guidelines will be sent out on June the 10th. So we will have 9 very fruitful days of pulling together our submission and application. But just to assure council, I think the staff, myself and a number of other people in the organization have put together quite a bit of information as a precursor to this kind of funding. So I believe we'll be able to put together a very solid application, hopefully setting ourselves up for success.
I believe that we do. I want to thank staff for the work that they've done so far on this. They've done a lot of work previously without reference to this program, which is helping to draw on the elements of this application. There are 443 municipalities in Ontario. I don't know how many municipalities in Ontario are going to be able to respond in such a short time frame. I'm very pleased that Fort Erie is one of them. I'm very appreciative of town staff to be able to do this. And I've got to believe that there's not going to be an overwhelming number of municipalities out of that 443 that will be in the same position. Some of the larger municipalities, the ones that have large numbers of staff, the ones that have been geared and maybe have had housing targets, so they've done a lot of the spade work. We were never given a housing target by the province, and so the fact that our staff is able to put this together so quickly is a tribute to them, so thank you.
Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to echo some of the comments that the mayor made with respect to staff. There are a lot of, as CAO McQueen alluded to, there is a lot of background that has already been done that will help inform this application, and we're in a very fortunate place, as the mayor said, without having the housing targets and without those provincial plans already put in place for us, that we've already done a lot of the legwork, and I think it's going to put us in a very good position. And just to touch on that, I have heard from a number of individuals in the community over the last few months when this was originally, not the funding, but when they were alluding to the reduction in DCs relative to the funding. I'd had a number of individuals reach out to me looking for more information, and it's really good to see this moving forward because there has been an interest, and certainly, if the program pans out the way it is, I think it will be a benefit to maybe just kind of level off some of the pricing concerns and challenges that we've had. The only comment that I have for staff, and it's more about when it comes back for an information report pending the terms and conditions, is I'm very concerned. Always concerned now with when it comes to funding of upper level governments, and the reason I say that, we're taking, for lack of a better word, a big revenue risk if we are willing to reduce DCs in return for provincial and federal funding. So when this does come back, certainly I'm going to be looking to ensure that those are ironclad guarantees on funding, that it's not something the province could decide, 6 months, 8 months, or the feds when they decide, that the political priorities have changed or funding needs to be reallocated, that we've passed a DC bylaw and then we're on the hook for the revenue, wondering where that check is. So that's always been my concern with this program is how the funding is going to come from those upper levels of government. And that's something I'd be looking for I'm supportive of the idea. It's just we have to ensure that the ratepayers in this community aren't going to pick up any of the slack if the DC funding, for whatever reason, may not come through despite otherwise being approved. So that was my only comment. Looking forward to staff putting this through. Like I said, I think we're going to be of municipalities at parity with ours. I think we're in an excellent position, knowing some of the stuff we've done, and I'm really looking forward to hearing how this is all going to work. So thank you very much.
Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Councillor Flagg. I've had a few inquiries too about this, and I just want to make sure that I have a good handle on this. Okay, if Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones, if they have a lot and they want to build a house, is this, if we approve this and we go forward with this, is this going to help them? And we're talking about, we're not talking about, like, there's already a road there, there's already water and sewer there, et cetera. Is this going to help them?
Sia?
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Noyes. The program that the province has put out is meant to align with the HST rebate. And so from what we understand, the attraction of the development charge reduction would be retroactive back to, and I'm going to look for a nod from Mr. Jensen, but I believe it's March 30th of this year to align with that HST rebate. So any development charges that we have collected as of April 1st, we would have to go through a process of discounting them back to whatever the amount is that we've agreed to in the terms and conditions. So we'll be tracking those on an individual basis. And so your question, if someone's built a house and they've submitted the permit for the development charges, the legislation's changed because we may not be collecting at that point in time, but the amount that would apply when they get an occupancy permit would be the amount that was in play on the date that the permit was issued. And so if that was after April the 1st, they would be eligible for the refund back for whatever that percentage, 30 to 50%.
Okay, thank you. They'll be happy to hear that. When you guys are going to come back with the report, I think we have to look at also what's the impact if we don't go ahead with this and the municipalities around us do. Does this not reduce our competitiveness?
Through you to the councillor, it may. I think the timing of people's development charge bylaws has created an unlevel playing field in and of itself. So some of the municipalities that are far behind on their development charge updates, they wouldn't have the increases that some of the more recent development charge bylaws have implemented based on real costs. And there will be some who aren't eligible for the program because they don't have the development charges study completed in the time frame that we needed to be complete. And some municipalities waive development charges entirely, some don't apply them. So I think there's already somewhat of an unlevel playing field, but to your question about would it create some competition or inadvertently disadvantage us, the likelihood is yes, if there's market sensitivity on where we are geographically, because the offset for some of these development charges could be in the tens of thousands of dollars, and that's applied directly to the price of the house. So it's a great question, and I think, yes, it might create a competitive disadvantage to have not applied.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, back to your worship.
Yeah, just a thought. Do we have any knowledge of whether or not the region of Niagara will be applying for funding through this program?
Through you to the mayor. I believe they will be applying. They are eligible, so single tier upper and local municipalities are all eligible to apply. The same criteria would apply to them, so they would still have to prove that the projects they're putting forward are directly benefiting housing enabling units on the residential side. So as far as I know, they will likely be putting a fairly large application in for a number of their projects. But similarly, the projects they're putting in, they're going to have to apply that discount across all housing units across the entire region, not just the geographic areas where those projects exist. So again, a pretty high price point for them to offset the development charge relief.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That carries. Brings us to new business inquiries. Seeing none, business status report. Seeing none, we'll close this and turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Flagg. That takes us to closed session. We've got minutes and a report to be dealt with in closed session. Can I have a mover to go into closed session? Councillor Lewis. Any questions or comments about that? All those in favor then of going into closed session at 7:56? That is carried. We're back in the council chamber, and Councillor Lewis, you have the resolution for us to rise and reconvene from closed session.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself that council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 8:04 p.m. with report 12.1 that council approves the closed meeting minutes of May 25th, 2026, and 12.2 that council approves confidential report CAO 092026 position recruitment incentive funding for Dr. Yasser Khan and authorize staff to proceed as directed in closed session.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the resolutions? That is carried. Are there any meetings that anyone wishes to advise us of? Councillor Christensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. On Tuesday, June 16th at 4:30 p.m., the Fort Erie Public Library Board will meet at the Centennial Branch of the library.
Any other meetings? Councillor Noyes?
I think just an announcement for Councillor Christensen, if she can probably reinforce it. I think on June 13th is the senior stepping out.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, jeepers, yes.
And please, all of us should attend, even those that aren't seniors yet. You are still invited.
Hope springs eternal.
There will be food trucks. It's basically a fair with wheels of chance and that kind of thing. And yes, with some participation by agencies. So it's very exciting. The committee has put a huge amount of effort into it.
So that is at the Leisureplex on Saturday, June 13th.
Yes.
It's from 11:30 on.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's 11, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
11 o'clock on at the Leisureplex. Any other meetings? If not, Councillor Dubanow, would you be good enough to end this meeting for us?
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to move the council and committee adjourn at 8:06 p.m. this evening.
All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you all.